Good evening. We're going to do the watch list for the week of April 6th. And if you're not in the room, you should be. If you're not a subscriber, you should be. This week will be probably pretty tough to trade because, like last week, there was a lot of disconnect between the news and the price action. There was a lot of bad news, and the market didn't seem to care. Oil dropped, gapped down today, and market gapped up. So there's a disconnect between the oil, which last week when the oil was selling off, the market sold off. So apparently the market doesn't care about oil selling off anymore, and doesn't seem to care about the coronavirus because March, I think 23rd was when SPY was 220 or something like that, and the actual initial coronavirus was around 400,000 confirmed cases, and now it's like quadruple, triple that, and the deaths were right around, I don't know, 15, 20, and they're triple that now. So the market's going up as the death toll and cases are going up, so it doesn't care about coronavirus anymore. It's the market's very disconnected with what's going on. More businesses are getting shut down, the economy is getting crippled, unemployment's skyrocketing through the roof, and the market doesn't seem to care. So it will care one of these days. It will just pull a rug out and just wipe everybody out that thinks that this is a buy the dip thing, because it's definitely not buy the dip. So something's going to end up happening with the Prime Minister of the UK, Boris Johnson, being hospitalized over coronavirus. If he ends up dying, or someone influential or even famous celebrity-wise dies, it's going to change the whole scope of it, because people are going to realize that even the wealthy people with with a lot of money, and they have like top-notch doctors and stuff like that, are susceptible of being getting coronavirus and dying from it. So that will change the game, and then the market will, and then probably going crazy again. So, but with that out of the way, we'll just. I'm going to pick the stocks I have on my watch list. I picked from the last few weeks. The spreads and prices for last week were not as bad. They were actually pretty decent. But before that, the spreads were really, really nasty. I only had a few stocks I could trade because the spreads were too bad. So I picked pretty much the same stocks we've been trading for the last few weeks in case the spreads are bad, in case the prices are high again. So I'll stick to what we know and stick to what we like for now until things get better and prices get better, and we can start trading a little more like we used to. But with that in mind, I got Home Depot up first. Home Depot is closing their stores because trying to prevent more outbreak, and I'm not sure if it's closing all the U.S. stores or if it's just Canada. I know that they're closing Canada stores. So the other day, I don't know, I think last week, we went out, and Home Depot had a bunch of people on the parking lot line up to go in to get supplies to do their chores for home repair, because they're stuck at home with nothing to do. So they're looking at it from the point of view, well, I'm stuck home, I might as well do some repairs and stuff. So that's probably why Home Depot is closing. So that's why I have a Home Depot up. If it is closing U.S. wide, which I think they are, or if they aren't, they will soon, that below 174, it could definitely go down and retest these lows of in the 150 range. So Home Depot, definitely like for a bearish run. So another one is Facebook. I mean, if the market's going to go down, Facebook's going to go down with it. But you also have to remember that if the market is going to be good, that we'll just have to switch sides and go on calls or something with Facebook. But I rather prefer to keep shorting the pops until something's changed. But right now, the last week, everything's been kind of choppy. So Facebook, if the market continues to get worse, I mean, under 150, it's going to come down here and test the 135s again. So Facebook is one I'd be watching for the short side. Roku's get this descending wedge right here. Below 80, I think it comes down here into the 70s and even the 65s, depending on how bad the market gets this week. I think we're going to have a big sell-off sometime this week, and I still think SPY is going to 200. I think that all this bad news is going to catch up, and the market's going to all of a sudden care. Apple, I had on my bearish side, but I saw news just like in the last half an hour saying they're going to make 1 million ventilators a week. I'm not quite sure how they're going to do that, but they're going to make a bunch of ventilators. It's not going to make them any money, but they're going to help with the coronavirus and help people that are in need. So I wouldn't be surprised if it pops on this news. So, I mean, Apple over 246, it gets into the 260s if the market likes it. For some reason, if they don't, because they're not making any money and they're spending money to make this, I mean, under 239, down to the 220s. So Apple right now, have to see what the reaction is going to be to the ventilators. I would imagine it'd be pretty good news because they're actually helping people. But for the other side is they're not making money doing it, and it's kind of harsh to say, but they, from a investor point of view, I mean, people want to see money being brought in. So I'm not sure. Maybe they'll get a negative reaction out of doing these. I don't know. I don't know what to expect. So I've never gone through this before. So we'll have to see what happens with Apple, with that. Disney is the other one. Parks is still down. Cruise lines is still down. They're going to be down for a while. So if the market's red, it's going to go down and retest this 85 area below, but under 93. QCOM has been kind of, the semiconductors have been kind of hot lately, the last few days, but if it gets below the $65 range, it could definitely get down to the 62, even down in the 60 region. So I like QCOM. It's been a pretty good one to trade for us. BA had news, but every time they have good news, the thing pops, and every time it has bad news, every time it has bad news, it pops, and every time it has good news, it drops. So BA is such a pain in the butt to trade, but it's got a descending wedge right there. Below 120, it gets down here under 100 again, but we'll have to see how it reacts. I mean, it had bad news, and every time Boeing has got bad news, it likes to pop, so that stock drives me crazy. So BABA is another one. BABA's been pretty good. It's been holding up pretty good, but it's got like a wedge right here. I guess you could see even a head and shoulders right there on the hourly. And if it gets under the 185, that's going to go close this gap into the 177. So I like BABA for a short too. And the reason I'm picking all these shorts, I'm assuming that the market's going to be bearish. I know the futures up like 70 points right now on ES, but I mean we've all seen it up so much right now that come in the morning it's down 80 points, so that doesn't mean anything. So just because it's up now doesn't mean it will be in the morning. Same thing with Baidu. It's got a head and shoulders on the hourly, left, head, right there, below 96. Actually, yeah, below 96. It's going to fill that gap to 92. So that's it for the bearish side. For the good side, I mean, I get McDonald's. I mean, McDonald's stores are still open. There's still the drive-thru still there. So McDonald's could, McDonald's always does well when the market is bad. So if it gets over the 162, it's going to fill the gap and probably go to 170. So it's going to get like a cup and handle kind of starting to form. Here's the cup. Here's a little handle. If it gets over the 170, it's going to play out, and it should. I mean, it's even got room on the daily to go up to 185, but we'll have to see. Even though McDonald's is open, their dining room's closed, so they don't probably have as much demand. Walmart, Walmart just had like mega sales, so I like Walmart over the 120, and if it gets over the 120, I think it's going to go reach these all-time highs. So Walmart is another one I would keep an eye on. Let's see, Target. I'll look at Target. I don't have it on my list, but I always look at Target. Yeah, see, I'm not gonna worry about that. Johnson & Johnson, they're hot because they are into the coronavirus thing. They're trying to get something squared away, and they have like a inverted head and shoulders. Here's the left, the head, the right. So it gets over 135. This thing's gonna rocket into the 140. So I would watch Johnson & Johnson. I mean, they are trying to do some things with the coronavirus, and their spreads aren't too bad. So those are the stocks I'm going to watch for the week. I'm sure there's more, but I don't really care. I want to just focus on the ones that have good spreads, that have decent prices, that aren't too expensive. And I think that if the week for options is good as far as spreads and prices. I mean, those are the good ones to pick. So that's going to do it for the watch list, and have a good week. Thanks.